A wave of tension moved across the Middle East when reports began to surface that Iranian forces had launched missiles toward one of Israel's most strategically important military facilities, Nevatim Air Base. Iranian state media quickly announced what they described as a powerful and successful strike, claiming their missiles had reached the base and caused serious damage to critical infrastructure. According to Iranian officials, the operation was intended to demonstrate that Israel's most significant military facilities were no longer beyond the reach of Iranian strike capabilities. The claim immediately attracted global attention because Nevatim Air Base is not simply another Israeli military installation. Located deep in the Negev Desert in southern Israel, the base is widely regarded as one of the most vital elements of the Israeli Air Force's operational framework. It hosts some of Israel's most advanced aircraft and plays a central role in long-range missions, intelligence coordination, and strategic air operations. Because of this importance, any strike directed at Nevatim instantly becomes a major geopolitical event. Before we examine what Iran claims occurred at Nevatim Air Base, how the attack reportedly unfolded, and why Israeli and U.S. media outlets are presenting a very different version of events, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the latest developments shaping global geopolitics. Iranian media outlets began broadcasting statements from military commanders who described the strike as a precise operation against a critical Israeli military target. According to these reports, multiple long-range missiles were launched towards southern Israel during the operation. Iranian officials insisted that the missiles were specifically aimed at Nevatim Air Base because of its strategic importance within Israel's defense network. In the Iranian narrative, the strike represented a turning point in the confrontation. Officials claimed that several missiles successfully reached the base and caused serious damage to key sections of the facility. Iranian commentators suggested that the operation demonstrated their ability to bypass Israeli defensive systems and strike deep inside Israeli territory. According to these claims, the attack showed that even Israel's most heavily protected military installations could be threatened. For Iran, this message carries significant symbolic value. Demonstrating the capability to reach high-value targets inside Israel strengthens the perception of deterrence and signals that the confrontation may have entered a new phase. But the situation quickly became far more complicated. Within hours of the Iranian announcements, Israeli officials began presenting a very different account of what had actually occurred. According to Israeli authorities, the country's advanced air defense network detected incoming missiles long before they could reach their intended targets. Israel operates a sophisticated multi-layered missile defense architecture designed to intercept threats at different stages of flight. These systems include long-range interceptors capable of destroying ballistic missiles before they descend toward their targets, as well as additional layers designed to intercept shorter-range threats. Israeli defense officials stated that once the missiles were detected, defensive systems were activated immediately. Interceptors were launched to neutralize the incoming threats before they could reach the base. According to Israeli sources, several missiles were intercepted in the air, preventing major damage to Nevatim Air Base. U.S. media outlets echoed this version of events. Reports citing defense officials indicated that the defensive systems functioned as designed and prevented catastrophic damage to the base. While some debris from intercepted missiles may have fallen in nearby areas, Israeli officials insisted that the core infrastructure of Nevatim remained intact and operational. This sharp contrast between Iranian claims and Israeli statements immediately created uncertainty. On one side, Iran was presenting the strike as a major military success. On the other side, Israel and U.S. media were emphasizing the effectiveness of the air defense systems that protected the base. Situations like this are common during periods of conflict. Competing narratives often emerge as each side seeks to shape public perception and reinforce its strategic messaging. For Iran, portraying the strike as successful demonstrates strength and capability. For Israel, emphasizing successful interceptions reinforces confidence in its defensive systems and reassures the public that critical infrastructure remains secure. Between these narratives lies a complex reality that analysts are still trying to understand. To fully appreciate why the alleged strike on Nevatim Air Base matters so much, it is important to understand the base's role within Israel's military structure. Nevatim is one of the Israeli Air Force's most significant installations. It has been associated with advanced aircraft programs and plays an important role in long-range operational planning. The base supports multiple squadrons and is equipped with facilities designed to handle some of the most sophisticated aircraft in Israel's arsenal. Because of this, Nevatim is considered a critical component of Israel's strategic air power. Any attack targeting such a facility carries enormous implications. Iranian officials appeared to recognize this significance when describing the strike. In statements broadcast on Iranian media channels, military spokespeople suggested that targeting Nevatim was intended to demonstrate the vulnerability of Israel's most important military assets. The message was clear: no location is completely beyond reach. But Israeli officials strongly rejected that interpretation. According to Israeli defense authorities, the country's multi-layered air defense network is specifically designed to protect strategic installations like Nevatim. Early detection systems monitor airspace for incoming threats. Once a missile launch is identified, defensive batteries are activated to intercept the threat before it reaches its target. These systems represent years of technological development and have been tested repeatedly during previous confrontations. Israeli officials emphasized that the systems functioned effectively during the incident. According to their reports, interception systems engaged the incoming missiles and neutralized the threat before major damage could occur. Military analysts around the world began examining the situation closely. In modern conflicts, satellite imagery often plays a critical role in verifying claims made by opposing sides. Analysts study high-resolution images of military installations to determine whether visible damage has occurred. If runways, hangars, or other infrastructure are damaged, those changes can sometimes be identified in satellite imagery captured after the event. However, this type of analysis requires time. In the immediate aftermath of the reported strike, reaching firm conclusions was difficult. What was clear, however, was that the incident had sharply heightened tensions across the region. Missile launches directed at a strategic air base represent a significant escalation. Even if the missiles were intercepted before reaching their targets, the act of launching them carries strategic importance. It signals both capability and intention. Within the broader context of the confrontation between Iran and Israel, actions like these contribute to a cycle of escalation that can quickly become difficult to manage. Regional governments immediately began monitoring the situation with increased attention. Any direct exchange of missile strikes between major regional powers raises concerns about broader instability. Financial markets also started responding with caution. Although the strike targeted a military installation rather than energy infrastructure, instability in the Middle East often affects global markets. Energy traders, investors, and policymakers closely observe developments in the region because disruptions can create ripple effects throughout the global economy. Meanwhile, diplomatic channels quietly became active behind the scenes. International leaders frequently call for restraint during moments of rising tension, recognizing that additional escalation could carry serious consequences. At the same time, the competing narratives surrounding the Nevatim strike continued to develop. Iranian officials repeatedly emphasized the success of their operation, while Israeli authorities maintained that their defensive systems prevented significant damage. Military analysts continued reviewing available evidence in an effort to determine what actually happened. One key factor in situations like this is the speed of modern missile defense systems. Once an incoming threat is detected, interception decisions must be made within seconds. Radar networks track the trajectory of incoming missiles, while interception systems calculate the most effective point to engage them. When these systems function properly, the interceptor destroys the incoming missile before it can reach its intended target. This ongoing technological competition between offensive missile systems and defensive interception systems is one of the defining characteristics of modern warfare. Offensive systems are designed to travel farther, move faster, and strike with greater accuracy. Defensive systems are developed to detect and neutralize those threats before impact. The reported strike on Nevatim Air Base demonstrates this dynamic clearly. Iran claims its missiles reached the base. Israel maintains that the missiles were intercepted. Both sides are presenting narratives that align with their respective strategic interests. For observers around the world, The truth may eventually emerge through careful examination of available data. But regardless of which narrative ultimately proves more accurate, the incident itself highlights the fragile balance that exists in the region. Strategic military installations such as Nevatim represent critical national assets. When they become targets of missile strikes, the implications extend far beyond the immediate event. They influence military planning, diplomatic relations, and public perceptions of security. As the situation continues to evolve, governments and analysts around the world remain focused on a broader question. Will this incident remain an isolated episode, or could it trigger further escalation? History shows that moments like this can become turning points. Even when defensive systems prevent physical damage, the psychological and strategic impact of such attacks can reshape the dynamics of a conflict. For now, Nevatim Air Base remains at the center of global attention. Iran maintains that its missiles struck a key Israeli target. Israel continues to insist that its defenses successfully protected the base. Between these competing narratives lies a story that the world is still trying to fully understand. As tensions continue to develop across the Middle East, the strike on Nevatim, whether viewed as a successful attack or a defended target, serves as a powerful reminder of how quickly the security landscape can change. Stay tuned for further updates as analysts continue examining the situation and as new information emerges about what actually occurred during the dramatic events surrounding Israel's most important airbase.